So let's get started. This is a drawing of just, as I mentioned, a sheet metal part. It does include multiple views, some detail, a detailed view, as well as a view of the flat pattern. And so I wanted to work through one of the techniques that you might use to get the flat pattern information out, maybe into a piece of equipment you've got on the shop floor, or to someone that might be using not be using the Inventor product, or even if they are. So I kind of wanted to just walk through some of the capabilities that we have here. So initially, we're going to want, when we create a drawing from scratch, one of the things that we want to consider is whether or not we're going to be using an IDW or the DWG environment here. So I've chosen the DWG environment, and again, that just allows us to expose these Inventor DWG files to someone outside our organization or even internally that may not have an Inventor. So this DWG file has lots of interoperability with the AutoCAD-based products, and some of the workflows there, maybe you have detailers that are using AutoCAD, but as an engineer or designer, I want to use Inventor. I'm creating a 3D model in the Inventor environment. I'm doing 2D documentation in the Inventor DWG environment, but then maybe I want to hand this drawing off to someone else to do help with the detail work, to add dimensions, etc. So that workflow is completely valid and supported between the two AutoCAD and Inventor-based products. Show you a little bit about that. In the situation that we're in now, I do have the ability to select a view here, and then with a right click there's an option that would allow me to insert that view into model space. So as soon as I achieve that, you'll notice over here in the browser that we have a new model environment that's shown, as well as an AutoCAD block that's been placed into that model space environment of the flat pattern view. So it's pretty much just that easy to get the information out to the AutoCAD environment. So if I were to then save this drawing and the changes that I just made to it, and go ahead and close it in Inventor, as an AutoCAD user, as a consumer of this information, I would just simply open the document up, and I'd initially be presented with the Inventor created DWG file with the views on the screen and all the pertinent and relevant information. You'll notice that that shows up as a tab called Sheet in this case. If I click on the Model tab, you'll then see that I do in fact have that information for the flat pattern that's been produced in Inventor using the capabilities in the sheet metal environment. This could be not just a flat pattern, it could be really any information, including any of the other views that might be relevant. Maybe I've got some G-code that I want to write for cutting a contour or a feature in this 2D environment. So a lot of controllers and systems that are we're using in manufacturing don't necessarily understand the Inventor environment directly, and so we've got to deliver a DWG file in that case. This becomes now a container for information, not just related to the 3D model, but also something that might be consumable outside of our own engineering environment in an Inventor format. So it's pretty simple to accomplish that task. So, and the interesting thing here is that I can go ahead and do an annotations here if I wanted to. So I could put some dimensions on here. And those things are relative to the model themselves, or to the block really that's been exported. So if I take a look at the properties for this particular document, you'll see it is just a block reference that's been created. And that's how AutoCAD's understanding this information. It has an insertion point like any other block would have. I can move that around on the screen. The view follows that insertion point. I can create a specific insertion point if I'm not happy with the one that's here. So this really is just the AutoCAD environment at this point. And in fact, if I needed to, I could DXF this out from within AutoCAD. All the tools I have available to me in AutoCAD are available to this particular block, including things like explode. So if there was some reason that I needed to explode this to kind of break the elements down into their rudimentary arc lines and circles, then I'm free to do that here. So the hurdle that you might have experienced in trying to get somebody the kind of information they're looking for, really, it's not a difficult task anymore. So one of the things to keep in mind in this case, there are a couple, I wouldn't call them limitations, but they're just things that you wouldn't want to do here. You wouldn't want to, go about the business of modifying this 2D AutoCAD block and expect it to update the drawing view, and then as a result in Inventor update the model as well. So it's kind of a one-way street. We're getting the information out for consumers in this way. Any change you'd want to make would be to the other model, or to the model in Inventor. So back here in the drawing environment that houses our Inventor information, you notice I've got some, again, dimension annotation information here, view information here. The view information isn't selectable, so that's held and managed by the Inventor product. Some of the annotation objects do appear to be selectable, but if we were to try to make a change to these things, so for example, if I looked at the properties on this dimension, you'll see that it is also a block reference. But in this case, there's no way for me to explode it. There's no way for me to edit the block itself. So if I try to launch the block editor, it just basically says that we can't modify this block in any way. It's an invalid block, and it's known as an anonymous block. So this information is held pretty closely. I could come in and do something like delete the dimension, but the reality of change isn't supported here. So that information is protected. If I wanted to go ahead and save this file in AutoCAD and any of the changes that I'd made to it, and then come back into the Inventor environment and open that drawing up, you'll see that in fact the deletion of that dimension has occurred, and we've got our AutoCAD model that has the additional dimension here. I can come over and I can look at that in a viewing state just by activating that model node in the model browser, and then toggle back to my sheet. So the idea here is that each of the two products kind of own their information. If I had added annotations, for example, in the drawing environment in AutoCAD, again, you want to make sure that you're not opening the product or that particular drawing in both applications at the same time. But if I had added a dimension, a linear dimension, for example, for the overall length here, you'll see it uses the appropriate dimension style for that process. And if I added a couple more, okay, those are accurate dimensions based upon the view scale of the drawing itself. So again, annotation here, save the drawing, close it up, and then the ability to just reopen that in Inventor and realize those annotations, it's fully supported. Okay, some of the things that can be confusing in this workflow, if you don't know a couple things in detail, it makes sense for me to know what's AutoCAD geometry and what's Inventor geometry, because they commingle and they look so similar to one another, which is a benefit that we want to make sure that we understand which is which. So there are filters available to us in the drawing environment, and many of you might be aware of this and some of you may not know it at all, but this little green cube here on the quick access toolbar allows us to set a selection filter. I prefer to use that by just holding down the shift key and then right clicking. That gives me that same selection filter selection set that you just saw in the menu I pulled down. Notice that it's set to edge priority, which explains why when I move my cursor over an edge, that's what's highlighting. But there are many other options for these selection filters. For example, AutoCAD dimensions. So if I choose that as a selection filter, you'll notice that the two AutoCAD dimensions have been highlighted here that were placed with AutoCAD. And if I wanted to make change to those dimensions, that AutoCAD geometry, I could right-click and I could open in AutoCAD. It will close the document here, open it up in AutoCAD, and then I could make those adjustments or edits over there. And then close AutoCAD and then come back to the Inventor environment for model editing, etc. I have other selection filters as well that are helpful. In this case, kind of the opposite of what I just showed. Select all AutoCAD dimensions. I can select all model dimensions or all Inventor dimensions. So in this case, these dimensions were added using just the AutoCAD dimension or the Inventor dimension command. And that's in contrast to the ones that we used AutoCAD to create. So these filters, we'll be popping in and out of these filters a few different times in different environments. Very, very helpful being able to identify what's what and get an idea of what the contents of our drawing documents are. We also have the ability to get the drawing itself out. So similar kind of what we saw in the model environment in AutoCAD. By the way, I don't have the ability in this environment to, if I just right select on a view, you'll find that the insert in model space command is really only going to support a single model space environment. So it's just prompting me, would you like to change what's in that environment? Right, so I've now actually added in a couple views, one on top of the other. And again, those are blocks, so those could be arranged next to each other if need be. But there's a much faster way to accomplish this task without having to go in and select each of the views independently and then rearrange them, if you will, if you're looking for an AutoCAD file. The point here is to not take the Inventor drawing and export it as a DWG file, because that then breaks the link between them. So it's nice to keep the integrity between the DWG information that's being consumed and the Inventor environment that's really the source or the creation tool for that. So I'm going to just close this document up and give you another, just another quick technique that you might want to use in this case. So here we are in the AutoCAD environment. Open up the AutoCAD document again. And you'll see, all the views that are here, as well as, again, we come over to the model space environment. You'll see that I can then, move this this other additional view around. In the case that we're trying to almost reconstruct the drawing itself, it's not really necessary. What we can do is I can use a command in AutoCAD that's called export layout. When I accomplish that, what it's going to do is it's going to take that information from the drawing So if I happen to be in the AutoCAD environment and don't have Inventor available to me for some reason, then I can go ahead and just export the layout environment. And then as a convenience here, they've given us a button to go ahead and just open that document up. So here now you see that drawing has been exported. Right, so the source of the information is Inventor, but what we've done here is we've really just built out a series of blocks in mass for all the views and the different view types that are listed here. So again, just a quick way to do an export. I prefer to keep the documentation tied into a common DWG, but if you did need to get the information out and have it be more editable, then here's a way that you can do it. And the receiver that might be utilizing the information in AutoCAD can kind of take control of their own destiny and get this drawing exported on their own. So you don't necessarily have to take that burden on in engineering with the Inventor to accomplish this task. You can just make your users aware, the consumers aware of the fact they can do their own thing if they'd like, either per view or the entire set of layouts in the sheet environment. So you'll see here now I have layout 1 and layout 2. So hopefully that's a workflow that you might find helpful in the export layout command, the ability to explode, and you can. I have some customers that use this to rebuild a drawing, and they use those exported blocks to X-reference into a general arrangement that they might be using in AutoCAD for facilities layout or what have you. So that's some of the interoperability stuff that might make sense for you guys to leverage when we're talking about the drawing environment in Inventor. We have to still respect the downstream consumers, obviously.